My parents blamed me for divorcing my cheating husband. Now they're begging because he's in jail. You know, when I look back, it's not even the betrayal that hurts the most. It's the fact that when I needed my family the most, they didn't just walk away. They slammed the door in my face and locked it behind them. 3 years ago, I divorced my husband Travis. We'd met in college at Southern State University, got married right after graduation, the whole fairy tale. Or at least, it looked like one. The truth? He was already cheating on me by our second anniversary. I found out while I was 5 months pregnant. And I didn't just find out by accident. It wasn't a quiet discovery. It was a full-scale emotional bomb dropped on me by a mutual friend who couldn't live with the guilt of knowing anymore. Turns out Travis had been hooking up with one of our former classmates, someone I considered a friend, for months. While I was carrying his child. While I was planning our future. While I was picking out names and researching cribs. And when I told my parents, they blamed me. No lie. They actually looked me in the face, then looked at Travis with his golden boy charm and crocodile tears and asked me if I'd done anything to drive him away. My mom cried. But not for me. For him. My dad said I was throwing away a good man. They didn't even try to hide it. They were obsessed with him. My dad used to call Travis the son he never had, which was extra messed up because, well, he has a son. My younger brother Dylan. But no, Travis could do no wrong. He was polished. Smiled like a politician. Helped Dad fix the deck that one time and suddenly he was family royalty. So when I told them I was filing for divorce, that I wasn't going to therapy, that I didn't care about saving a marriage built on lies, they disowned me. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. Straight up. Said if I walked away from Travis, I was walking away from them too. My mom even said, we don't support quitters in this family. Like I hadn't already fought harder than anyone should have to fight just to be treated like a human being. My siblings, Ashley and Dylan, followed their lead. I was unstable, emotional, making decisions while hormonal. They didn't even try to hear me out. They just stopped calling, stopped texting, cut me off. They kept in touch with Travis, though. He'd still go to family barbecues, holidays. My ex-husband. They didn't even call when my daughter was born. Not a single flower. Not a congratulations. Not a text. Just silence. For 3 years. You know how people say time heals? That's a lie. Time teaches. It teaches you who's really in your corner. It teaches you how to build new strength when the people who should have protected you are the ones pointing the knives. But healing? That's a choice. And I had to make it without the people I used to love the most. I raised my daughter, Kennedy, on my own. I worked full-time in marketing. I leaned on my friends like scaffolding. And little by little, I built a life that didn't include them. I didn't even talk about them. There was no point. Until a few weeks ago. That's when everything cracked open. I was sitting at my desk when my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, it buzzed again. Same number. Then another. Then another. And then my friend Tori messaged me, "Girl, you seeing the news about Travis?" I hadn't. But within minutes, I did. Local NBC affiliate. Front page of their digital feed. Raleigh man under investigation for harassment of teenage intern. The words blurred as I read the article. Travis. The man my family worshipped. My ex-husband. The man who cheated on me while I carried his child. He had been accused and recorded making inappropriate advances toward an intern at his tech firm. The girl? Barely 18. He'd been cornering her in break rooms. Making unwanted comments. Sending texts late at night. It had gone on for weeks. She finally recorded him and turned the footage over to the police. There was video. It wasn't blurry. It wasn't vague. It was damning. And suddenly, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. My mom. My dad. My siblings. Cousins I hadn't heard from in years. All of them. Calling. Texting. Emailing. Messaging me on Connect Use like we hadn't been ghosts in each other's lives for years. They were crying. I kid you not. My dad left a voicemail sobbing, saying how sorry he was. Saying they never knew. Saying they made a mistake. You want to know the first thing my mom said when I answered? I had no idea he was like this. I said, "Yes, you did. You just didn't care." And I hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't throw my phone. I just stared out the window of my apartment and thought about how many nights I cried alone on that couch. Pregnant. Abandoned. Lied to. Betrayed. And now they wanted forgiveness? Because now they believe me? Nah. Turns out, the same people who told me to fix my marriage while I was being cheated on didn't care about right and wrong. They cared about image. And when that image cracked, they came crawling back. Not because they were sorry. Because they were embarrassed. Later that day, my cousin Bree texted me. She said, Your parents are being dragged by the whole family group chat. Everyone's disgusted they chose Travis over you. Good. They should be. Because while they were smiling with my ex-husband at Christmas, I was learning how to swallow a newborn with one hand and respond to emails with the other. While they were posting photos with him on Memorial Day, I was watching my daughter take her first steps in a tiny living room we barely fit in. So no, I wasn't in the mood for apologies. And if you think it ended there, you haven't met my family. I thought the calls would stop once I ignored them. But if my family's good at one thing, it's persistence, especially when they're trying to clean up a mess of their own making. A few days after the story about Travis hit the local news, I started getting emails. First from my mom, then my dad, then Ashley, Dylan. The subject lines read like the opening lines of Hallmark redemption stories. We're sorry, please talk to us, let's rebuild. They couldn't believe I wouldn't respond. So they doubled down. The email that really did it for me, though? That was the one they sent to my work email. You read that right. They bypassed my blocked numbers and personal account and went straight for my professional inbox, the one my coworkers and boss actually see. It said, and I quote, "We know you're busy, but please think about Kennedy. She deserves grandparents in her life." Yeah, the same grandparents who didn't even call when she was born. The same ones who treated her existence like a side effect of my reckless decision to leave a cheating husband. Now they were using her like a bargaining chip? That lit something in me I hadn't felt in a long time. Not sadness. Not disappointment. Rage. For 3 years, they pretended I didn't exist. No birthdays. No holidays. No calls. Not even a generic Christmas card. They picked Travis. And now, because their golden boy got exposed as the creep I tried to tell them he was, they suddenly remembered they had a daughter? Nah. You don't get to abandon me and then ask for a second chance just because you're finally embarrassed enough. I didn't reply. Not to any of them. But you know what happened next? My cousin Bree, the only one who stayed in touch, the one person from that side of the family who actually believed me from day one, she called me up and said, "You're not going to believe this, but Ashley's engagement might be falling apart because of all this." At first, I didn't even understand what she meant. Like, what does my sister's engagement have to do with me? Then Bree filled me in. Ashley had been dating this guy, Jason, for a couple of years. They were supposedly solid, clean-cut, well-off family, very image-conscious. They had gotten engaged recently but hadn't announced it publicly yet. Then, just days after the Travis story broke, Jason's parents got wind of the fact that Ashley's family had defended and stayed close to him for years. They didn't like that. Word got around. The scandal touched everyone, even people who weren't involved. You'd think Ashley would want to keep things quiet. You'd think she'd go into damage control mode. But no. She decided the best way to save face was to drag me into the spotlight. Bree sent me a screenshot of a message Ashley posted on ConnectUse. It was a long, emotional post about family healing and working through past misunderstandings. She said she reached out to her sister hoping for reconciliation and was doing everything in her power to rebuild the family. She tagged me, like we'd been talking, like I was part of this big, heartfelt repair job she was orchestrating. It was a lie, and not just a little one. A full-on, gaslighting PR campaign designed to make her look like the sweet peacemaker while I sat in silence and looked like the petty, bitter sister who couldn't let go of the past. I was livid, but I still didn't respond publicly. Instead, I messaged her privately. "Take it down. You know we haven't spoken. Don't use me as part of your cleanup campaign." Her response? "I'm just trying to show people that we're working on things. It's not a big deal." Not a big deal? Telling the world we've reconciled, so your fiancé's family doesn't see you as the sister of an enabler? Using me to cover your image? Nah, I wasn't playing that game. I told her, "If you don't take it down, I'll respond. And I'll tell the entire truth." She didn't reply after that, but the post vanished an hour later. The next day, I got another email, this one longer and clearly more desperate. It was from my dad. He said he was heartbroken and ashamed, and that if he could take back the last 3 years, he would. That he didn't know how to be a father when I stopped playing the part of the obedient daughter. That he was scared I'd be poisoned by bitterness forever if I didn't let them back in. And then he said this, "You're being unfair. None of us knew how bad Travis really was." That was the last straw. I wrote back. Just one sentence. "You didn't care how bad he was, as long as he wasn't bad to you." Blocked. Again. But it still didn't stop. They kept trying. New numbers. New email addresses. Messages through old friends. At one point, they even asked my daughter's nanny if they could just drop off a gift for Kennedy. She shut that down fast. God bless her. She's been with me since Kennedy was born, more of a grandmother than my mom ever was. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. Bree sent me another update. Jason's parents were still uneasy about the wedding. Turns out, someone had tipped them off that there were rumors Travis had made inappropriate comments to Ashley when we were still married. I couldn't believe it at first. But then, a comment appeared on one of my old posts. Anonymous account. No profile photo. Just a sentence. Your ex tried something with your sister, and your family covered it up. I stared at it for 10 minutes. Then I got a message from Ashley. Please delete that comment. Just delete the post. No denial. No outrage. Just panic. So I replied, did it happen? She didn't answer the question. She only said, please, just don't make this worse. That silence? That non-answer? It told me everything I needed to know. I didn't delete the post. I pinned a comment. Because if it's true, if Travis really did what that anonymous user claimed, then my parents didn't just pick a cheater over me. They picked a predator and covered it up to save face. I went cold. Like bone deep, soul-numb cold. Because now this wasn't just about betrayal. This was about knowing and choosing silence and sacrificing me and maybe even my sister for the sake of appearances. I looked at Kennedy that night, sleeping peacefully in her little bed, hugging her stuffed giraffe. And I made a promise. I would never let them near her. Ever. You ever watch a house fall apart in slow motion? That's what the next few weeks felt like. Brick by brick, lie by lie, my family's shiny image collapsed under the weight of the truth they tried to bury. And for the first time in 3 years, I wasn't the one being scrutinized. They were. After that anonymous comment about Travis trying something with Ashley and her not denying it, things spiraled fast. I kept quiet, but I didn't delete the post. I didn't respond to the vultures circling online. I didn't make a scene. I just let the internet do what it does best. And it did. A few of my old college acquaintances began commenting. People who knew us back when Travis and I were together. A girl I hadn't talked to in nearly a decade messaged me privately. I always thought something about him was off. He tried flirting with me at your baby shower. Another wrote, he used to DM me at 2 a.m. saying he was lonely while you were pregnant. It was like people were waiting for permission to speak up. And now that the floodgates had cracked, they rushed in. I didn't encourage it. I didn't fuel it. But I wasn't about to stop it either. And then came the final blow. Bree, my cousin and inside scoop queen, sent me a message with a screenshot and just wrote, thought you'd want to see this. It was a post from Jason's mom, Ashley's fiance's mother. A simple paragraph on her page, publicly viewable. It's heartbreaking to realize you don't truly know the people your child is about to marry into. We support our son's decision fully and pray for healing and truth to come forward. Abuse, in any form, is not family. The ring was off. The wedding canceled. No save the dates. No engagement party. No bridal shower. Nothing. Just silence. And deleted photos. Ashley deactivated her ConnectUs account 2 days later. I should have felt triumphant. Vindicated. I mean, karma, right? But mostly, I felt tired. Tired of being the one who always had to carry the truth while everyone else got to skate by on denial. Tired of being the emotional landfill for a family that couldn't own its mistakes. Tired of being treated like I was the problem, just because I didn't want to stay silent anymore. Then the fallout reached my dad. Whitaker Home End Hardware, the family business he'd run since before I was born, got caught in the crosshairs. He was still going strong with it, despite being semi-retired. But when word spread that he had knowingly defended Travis, even after the cheating, after the harassment claims, people started to turn. It began small. A few bad reviews. A couple canceled service appointments. But then someone, probably one of the angry relatives, spray-painted on the store's big glass front. You supported a predator. They painted over it, but the damage was done. He posted a long, windy message on the company's page trying to explain it all away, called it a family misunderstanding, said they were caught off guard by recent revelations. But people weren't buying it. Especially when more rumors started to float that they knew about Travis' behavior with Ashley years ago and did nothing. That's when my mom started spiraling. She sent me a long email, the most dramatic one yet. She wrote, "You've destroyed us. Your need for revenge is sick. We're your family." She tried guilt. She tried shame. She begged, then threatened, then begged again. Said things like, "You'll regret this when we're gone. Your daughter will ask what kind of person you are." I didn't even reply. I forwarded it to my lawyer, the one I'd been talking to since all this started. See, what I hadn't mentioned until now. I was planning something. A post of my own. Not a messy rant. Not an expose. Just my story, simple, clear, and legally vetted. I wanted to draw the line. Publicly. Once and for all. And so, after weeks of drafting and reviewing, I published it. The post read, 3 years ago, I left a marriage that was emotionally abusive and dishonest. I was 5 months pregnant and alone. My family chose to support my ex-husband instead of me. I've stayed quiet for years out of respect for my own healing, but I won't let anyone rewrite history anymore. What happened between him and my sister was not a misunderstanding. What happened to me was not overreaction. And what happened since was not forgiveness, it was survival. I built a life for my daughter and myself without the people who should have had our backs. And now, as the truth comes to light, I will not accept guilt for consequences they brought on themselves. I am not responsible for what others choose to ignore. I do not regret leaving. I do not owe anyone my silence. I didn't name names. I didn't post screenshots. But everyone knew exactly who it was about. The post blew up. Support came pouring in. People I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me saying they were proud. People who had gone through similar things shared their own stories in the comments. But there were also messages from people defending my family, saying I was bitter, that I'd ruined my sister's future, that I should have stayed quiet for the sake of peace. Peace. Peace is what you get when everyone's telling the truth. This wasn't peace. This was performance. And I was done performing. A few days later, I got another anonymous message. This one from a burner account. No photo, no followers. Just a short DM. You're braver than any of them ever were. I don't know who it was. Maybe one of Ashley's friends. Maybe one of my mom's. Maybe someone who saw Travis for who he really was, but never spoke up. But it stuck with me. Because for the first time in forever, I wasn't the one trying to hold everything together. I was the one letting it fall apart, on purpose. And you know what? It felt good. You know that feeling when the storm finally breaks, like the wind dies down, the noise fades, and you're left standing there, soaked but still upright? That was me. After the post went up, after the backlash hit my family like a train at full speed, after the emails and voicemails and texts got no replies, there was a sudden silence. Not peace, but silence. Like they were regrouping. Like they were trying to figure out if they should apologize again, or reload. And I knew better than to let my guard down. I sat on my back porch one night with a glass of wine while Kennedy was asleep upstairs, and I just breathed. Really breathed. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like the truth didn't belong to them anymore. It was mine. Out in the open. Documented. Unapologetic. But even in that quiet, I wasn't stupid. I knew people like my mom, like Ashley, don't go down easy. Not when they've built their whole identity around being right. And I was right. It started with my aunt, my mom's sister. She called out of nowhere, left a voice message that was trying so hard to be neutral, it practically choked itself. Hey, sweetheart. I've been reading things online. It's gotten out of hand. Huh? Just wanted to say I love you. And I hope we can all move forward as a family. Aunt Lisa never called during the divorce. Not once. Never checked in. Never sent a baby gift. But now that her sister was catching heat from every corner of town, now she wanted to move forward. Right. Then my brother Dylan sent me an email. Short. Weirdly formal. Hey, I just wanted to say I think we all got caught up in the wrong stuff. You're a good mom. I was wrong. I hope we can fix it someday. Dylan, the one who used to mock me for crying. Who called me dramatic. Who told me Travis was just being a guy. I didn't respond. Because the truth was, I didn't need them anymore. I didn't want them in Kennedy's life. I had rebuilt everything from scratch. I had earned peace. And I wasn't about to rent it out to people who didn't know how to live without wrecking things. Then one day, a certified letter showed up in my mailbox. I opened it slowly, already bracing for whatever stunt was next. It was from my dad. A formal request for reconciliation therapy, a mediated family session. He claimed it was for the benefit of future family unity and wanted me to attend a session with a court-recognized therapist. It was voluntary, not a subpoena, but it was clear what this was. It was a trap. A PR move. A look. We tried defense in case things got worse. I took it to my lawyer. She read it once, then looked at me and said, "You don't owe them a thing." I nodded. "Can I file a no-contact order?" She blinked. "You want to go that far?" I said, "I should have gone that far 3 years ago." We filed paperwork that week, a formal cease and desist addressed to my mom and dad, and a restraining clause that if either of them attempted to contact Kennedy through school, caretakers, or other family members, they'd face legal consequences. When the letter was delivered, I finally got the last message I'll ever hear from my mom. A voicemail. Voice shaking. Angry but quiet, like she was trying not to let it turn into a full-blown breakdown. She said, "You've cut us out. Fine. But don't think you're better than us. One day, Kennedy will ask what you did to keep her from her family." I didn't reply. I saved it in a folder labeled proof. Because I knew it wasn't over. Not completely. People like my mom don't stop, they pause. They find cracks, loopholes. But not this time. I was sealing every door. And with the legal side handled, I focused on the last piece of my healing, removing the emotional landmines from my home. I boxed up everything that still tied me to Travis or my family. Wedding photos, old journals, baby shower cards signed Love, Grandma, by a woman who ghosted me 2 weeks later. I donated the crystal vase they gave us for our anniversary. I deleted the shared Dropbox folder my mom used to email cute quotes about motherhood. I even deleted the family calendar we all used to share. And then I did something I hadn't done in years. I bought Kennedy a new baby book. I filled in the pages myself. Our story. Our way. I wrote in the blank spaces where grandparents were supposed to be. I filled them with the names of the people who showed up. Tori, Bree, Miss April, her daycare teacher, my boss Jen, who gave me flexible hours during maternity leave, my neighbor Sheila, who brought me soup during that rough winter. Those people? That's family. That night, Kennedy and I made a cake, box mix, funfetti, way too many sprinkles. I let her stir the batter and lick the spoon. She got it all over her cheeks, and I laughed harder than I had in weeks. We sat on the couch afterward, watching some silly cartoon, her head on my lap, her little fingers playing with the hem of my hoodie. She looked up at me and said, "Mommy, are you happy now?" I smiled, the kind of smile that comes from deep, deep inside your chest. And I said, "Yeah, baby, I really am." Because I was. Not because the past disappeared, but because I finally put it where it belonged, behind me. You ever feel a storm before it hits? That quiet hum in the air. The stillness that doesn't feel calm, just loaded. That's what the next few days felt like. I thought the worst was behind me, legally locked down, emotionally sealed off. The restraining clause was in place, my voicemail was finally empty, and Kennedy and I had slipped into this quiet little rhythm that felt like home. But then Bree called. Now, Bree doesn't call unless something's gone sideways. She said, "Don't freak out, but there's something you need to see." I braced myself. What happened? Your mom. Of course. Apparently, she'd started telling people at church, and not just whispering to friends in the parking lot, actual prayer group announcements, that I was unstable, that I had alienated Kennedy from her entire bloodline. She called it emotional kidnapping. Yup. My mom, the same woman who ghosted her own grandchild for 3 years, was now claiming I had weaponized the child to punish the family. I laughed. At first. But then Bree said something that made the bottom drop out of my stomach. She also told them you were seeing someone, and that he was dangerous. I froze. What? She said she's afraid for Kennedy. That you're dating some unstable guy who's influencing you. Here's the kicker. I am seeing someone. His name's Marcus. He's been in my life for about 8 months. But he's not unstable. He's a therapist. Literally. A licensed child psychologist. Gentle. Calm. Empathetic to a fault. He met Kennedy 3 months ago. They clicked instantly. He's the first man I've trusted since Travis, and believe me, that didn't happen easily. But the only people who know about Marcus are my closest circle. So either someone leaked it, or she was digging, which meant she was watching me. I called my lawyer that same day, told her everything. We updated the documentation to include a non-defamation clause and began drafting an additional statement for our records. I wasn't going to wait for her to start a whisper campaign and act like I was paranoid. I wanted the paper trail ready before she got clever. Marcus offered to step back, to not come by for a while until things calmed down. I told him no, because that's what they always wanted, right? To isolate me, to make me small and scared and alone. Not this time. But just when I thought we'd handled it, Bree sent another text. This one? A screenshot of a GoFundMe, created by Ashley, titled, "Help Our Family Heal, Legal Funds for Reconnection Therapy." I sat down. Actually had to sit down. It had a long story underneath about a younger sister who'd been manipulated by toxic influences and a family trying to reunite with their daughter and granddaughter before it's too late. It didn't mention my name, but it didn't have to. She used photos from years ago, me holding Kennedy as a baby, a Thanksgiving dinner where Travis was in the background. Photos I never gave her permission to post. Pictures from my old private profile. The post had already raised almost $800 in donations. People were leaving comments like, "So sad. Praying she sees the light. Hope you get your sister back. Don't give up. Blood is thicker than therapy." I wanted to scream. Instead, I called Ashley directly for the first time in 2 years. She picked up like nothing was wrong. "Hey, surprised to hear from you. I didn't even waste time. You take that post down, or I will have it taken down. Legally. Permanently. And I'll make damn sure your donors know exactly where their money is going." She had the nerve to say, "I was just trying to help. We're hurting." You're hurting. I snapped. You're raising money using my kid's face. Spinning a fake sob story to get pity cash while you sit around crying that people are holding you accountable? You think that's helping? She got defensive. People wanted to support us. I didn't make them donate. You exploited a child, Ashley. That hit. She went quiet. I'm not asking again. Take it down. She did. 3 hours later. But not before people had already seen it. Screenshot it. Shared it. I'd like to say that was the end of it. But there was one last twist. That weekend, Kennedy had a recital, little kids in sparkly outfits doing an adorable but barely choreographed dance to Let It Go. Marcus and I went. He brought her flowers. She lit up like a lighthouse. It was supposed to be a sweet, simple memory. But as we walked out of the auditorium, I saw them. My mom and Ashley. Sitting in a parked car across the street. Not close enough to approach us. Not brave enough to come inside. Just watching. I didn't react. I didn't wave. I didn't even look twice. But Marcus saw my hand shake. He gently took the flowers from me, wrapped his arm around my shoulders, and whispered, I've got you. They don't get to touch this. And they didn't. We went home. Kennedy played with her new stickers. Marcus made us tea. I sat on the couch with a blanket and finally let the tears come. Not from fear. Not even from anger. Just release. Because the war was still going on outside. But inside our little home, I was finally safe. 6 months later. And I can finally say the storm passed. Not in some fairy tale way. Not because everyone suddenly found accountability and we hugged it out over brunch. No. It passed because I outlasted it. I rebuilt something so solid, so grounded in truth and peace, that their chaos couldn't touch it anymore. The GoFundMe disappeared. The gossip dried up. The concerned relatives got bored and moved on to someone else's drama. Ashley ghosted the internet entirely. And my mom? She started telling people she was taking time to focus on herself. Translation: she ran out of moves. After the recital incident, Marcus helped me install security cams around the house. He said it was for peace of mind, but I think we both knew it was a message too. We see you now. They never came near again. My lawyer helped finalize a more permanent no-contact agreement that extended to Kennedy's school, her pediatrician, even her upcoming summer camp. Anywhere they might try to sneak in. Legally speaking, we were bulletproof. But the biggest shift? It wasn't legal. It was emotional. Because somewhere along the line, I stopped waiting for them to do better. I stopped hoping they'd wake up and realize the damage. I stopped mourning the version of them I built in my head, the parents who'd protect me, the sister who'd have my back. I let that family go. And in the space they left behind, something else grew. Real community. Real friends. People who show up. Tori comes over every Friday with groceries and a bottle of wine. Bree babysits when I'm drowning in work deadlines. Marcus taught Kennedy how to ride her bike. And yeah, I cried watching it. Because no one ever taught me things like that. Not my mom. Not my dad. I had to figure it all out on my own. But Kennedy? She'll never have to wonder if she's loved. She'll never have to earn it. She'll never be the scapegoat for someone else's shame. A few weeks ago, I got an invitation in the mail. No return address. It was for my cousin's wedding, a different cousin, one I haven't spoken to since the fallout. But the envelope was addressed only to me and Kennedy. Not my parents. Not Ashley. Just us. Inside was a handwritten note. I believe you. I always did. I was just too scared to speak up. I hope you come. Kennedy deserves to be around people who value her mom. I sat with that note for a long time. It didn't undo everything, but it reminded me that truth has a ripple effect. Even when it feels like no one's listening, someone always is. Kennedy found it on the counter later that night and asked, "Can we go to the party?" I smiled. "Yeah, baby. We can go." And we did. We wore matching dresses, hers pink with glitter, mine soft blue. Marcus came with us. The ceremony was small, sweet, full of real joy, not the polished, forced kind I grew up pretending was normal. No one asked about my mom. No one brought up Travis. No one tiptoed around the past like it was some landmine. They just loved us. As we were leaving, an older woman stopped me on the way out. She said, "I don't know you well, but I read your story when it was going around. You did the right thing. And you're raising that girl in truth. Don't let anyone make you feel small for that." I thanked her. I barely got the words out. Because for so long, I did feel small. Like my story didn't matter. Like I was the villain in a narrative I didn't even write. But now, I know better. I'm not a villain. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. I'm a mother. And I'm free. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too.